My brother Jack is getting married soon, but his fiancée, Catherine, has asked me not to attend. I really want to go, but if it would make Jack unhappy, maybe I should just listen to her. When I was 25 and Jack was 15, our parents passed away. There was talk of putting Jack in foster care, but we had our parents' inheritance. And more than anything, we didn't want to be separated from the only family we had left, so I decided to take care of him. We've had our ups and downs, especially during Jack's rebellious phase, but we've always supported each other and I think our relationship is pretty strong. I've tried not to touch the inheritance much, living off my salary instead. It's been tough at times, but he would always say, "I'd rather be poor but with Sally," which encouraged me to try and provide a better life for us by dedicating myself to work for the past 10 years. Because of this, I've remained single, but I was happy that Jack found a wonderful woman and was getting married. Finally, Jack's getting married. I'm looking forward to the wedding. I got married before you. But really, thank you for everything. If you hadn't been there to take care of me, Sally, you could have married much earlier. I'm fine with it. I like being alone and I enjoy my work. But don't you want to meet someone? Meet someone. I guess I need to lose weight first. Seriously, please lose weight. Not because of your figure, but I'm worried about your health. You're eating instant food at night, aren't you? It's a hassle to cook for just myself after work. Still, I wish you'd live a healthier life. Jack's words were a stark reminder of how unhealthy my lifestyle had become. Like our mother, I had good skin, but I spent most of my days sitting for work. With my job going fully remote, I barely went outside, leading to me steadily gaining weight. I did join a gym in the neighborhood, but I ended up only paying the membership without actually using it. Hearing Jack's words made me seriously start thinking about getting on a diet. A few days later, I received a wedding invitation from Jack and his wife, and the following day, a message from Catherine arrived. Sally, it's been a while. Did you receive the wedding invitation we sent? Catherine, long time no see. I got it yesterday and was about to reply. Thanks for inviting me to your wedding. About that, could you please not attend our wedding? What do you mean? I don't want you to attend. Did I do something wrong? I was shocked not only by Catherine's blunt approach, but also by her request for me to not attend the wedding, to which I responded with a lifeless voice. Well, you're overweight, and honestly, do you even care about your appearance as a woman? It's weird that you're not married at your age. So you don't want me at Jack's wedding because I'm overweight and single? It's better for you not to come, for your own sake. I mean, I'm pretty good looking, right? My parents and siblings are all stylish, some are models or work in beauty. You'd stick out. Jack will wonder why I'm not there. If I don't go, Jack's family seat will be empty. Just make up something suitable. You're his sister, you know what to say to avoid suspicion, right? As his sister, they expected me to come up with a believable lie for Jack. I'm sorry, but I can't marry you right now. I've started dieting recently. More than anything, I want to see my only brother's wedding through, for our parents in heaven. I expressed my heartfelt wish to Catherine, despite her remarks. However, in response to my words, Catherine dropped all the emojis she had been using and expressed her dissatisfaction. The wedding is about me, the bride. My wishes should come first. I don't want my wedding ruined by an obese, single woman. And don't bring up anything about parents in heaven on my special day. Do you plan to be selfish at a celebration by mentioning those who have passed away? I was speechless at her harsh words and couldn't reply for several minutes. Then, perhaps satisfied with my silence, Catherine mockingly added, I don't mind keeping up family ties, so do send a gift for our happiness. Wouldn't that be something even your parents in heaven would appreciate? Understood. Then I'll return this invitation marked as not attending. I wanted to end the conversation with Catherine as quickly as possible, not wishing to speak with her further. As far as I remember, I've done nothing to offend Catherine. We only met during family meetings, and beyond that, I've only exchanged Christmas cards with Catherine's family, never directly interacting with her. So, it was a shock to receive a message from her, especially one indicating she thought so poorly of me. I considered telling Jack, but hesitated since their marriage was already official a few months back. I wondered if staying silent was better, to avoid causing trouble in their newlywed life. Afterward, I sent Jack a message along with the returned invitation, apologizing and stating I couldn't attend the wedding. Why? What happened? I have an unavoidable meeting that day. That's a lie, right? The company would let you off for a family wedding. Well, it's actually a client who specifically requested me. They're quite difficult, and I can't just ask to reschedule. Seriously? I'll see if we can change the wedding date. I'm busy for a while, and it's Catherine's big day. You don't need to go to such lengths for me. Jack seemed about to argue, but I ended the conversation, citing work commitments. Despite my reluctance to miss the event, being pressured to abstain made me want to avoid giving Jack any suggestions that might make me waver, especially not wanting to end up blaming Catherine. The next day, Catherine messaged me again. Sally, can you tell Jack you decided not to attend on your own? Huh? I already told Jack I wouldn't be attending. I heard. But tell him you're not attending because you're single and it would be bad luck. I already said it was because of work. I can't just change my story now. Your transparent lie about work is why I'm being blamed by Jack. It's your lack of consideration that's left you single at your age. I had a colleague just like you at my previous job, unhelpful, gloomy, and just a nuisance. When I saw you, you reminded me of her, exactly. Catherine, how dare you say such things to my sister? And to my only family. What? What are you talking about all of a sudden? It's me, Catherine. Jack. I'm at her place right now. Sally, stop with the pitiful act. It's just sad that someone as overweight and unattractive as you is also delusional. The reason Sally is single is because of me. She's been working nonstop to take care of me since our parents died. In front of me, Jack furiously typed his response to her. He had another reason for visiting. That morning, he had contacted me, saying he took the day off to speak with me urgently, despite my busy schedule. I agreed and invited him over, but the story he shared left me dumbfounded and disgusted by Catherine's actions. Yesterday, I talked to Catherine. She said you're not attending the wedding because she told you things, right? What? What do you mean? Catherine said that? I heard everything from her yesterday. I'm really sorry for making you feel bad. It's all my fault. Jack then recounted his conversation with her from the previous day. Sally won't be attending the wedding. She says she's too busy with work, but can't you make it somehow? If she's busy, it can't be helped. Sally has her own life, and she's single, so she needs to focus on her work. It's not unheard of to take a day off for a sibling's wedding. I'm the one who told her to refrain from attending. What? Well, it's unfortunate, but let's face it, Sally is overweight and not exactly a beauty, right? My family and friends are all stunning, so she'd just feel miserable among us. Catherine, what exactly did you say to Sally to make her decide not to attend? At that point, Even Catherine seemed to realize that he was furious. I only said that my friends and family, who are former models or work in beauty, might make you feel out of place. I thought it would be better for both of us if you didn't attend because it might make you uncomfortable.
That's absurd. Sally is my only family.
Now that you're married to me, I am your family, Jack.
I can't be confident in a future with someone who disregards my family like that.
Jack said this before storming out of the house. He spent the night at a business hotel, thinking things over, which led him to reach out to me because he couldn't fully believe what she had said. After calming down, I too quickly realized the truth, but I was initially so shocked by Catherine's words that I stubbornly thought it best to stay quiet. I'm embarrassed I didn't have complete faith in Jack. Sally, I'm really sorry. I knew Catherine was proud of her looks, but I never imagined she could be this unreasonable. I'm going to divorce her. Even if it means I have to pay compensation, I can't spend my life with someone who disrespects you, my family, like this. Jack apologized to me after sending his response to Catherine.
Are you sure? She's your wife. Didn't you love her?
Catherine's true nature began to show after we got married. She quit her job without discussing it with me. Rated women we passed on the street or saw on TV, and I just felt something was off. I guess she was always like this, but I failed to see it. Jack admitted with regret. Then his smartphone rang. He signaled me and answered on speakerphone.
Jack, are you at Sally's?
Yes. We were just talking about divorcing you, Catherine.
What? I'm your family now that we're married.
Sally is my family too. After we divorce, Catherine will be a stranger, but Sally will always be my family.
But you should prioritize me, right?
If Sally had done something wrong, I would have sided with you. But you mocked not only her appearance, but also her life dedicated to me.
What if she demands money from you later because she's still single?
How much do you think we spent on the wedding for your sake?
What?
Sally helped pay for the wedding because I wanted to make it perfect for you. You knew that, right?
That's a different matter.
How can you say it's different after demanding she not attend even though she helped financially? I'll be discussing this with your parents.
Fine. My dad and mom will definitely side with me. Dad will hire a lawyer to claim compensation from you guys. And I'll never agree to a divorce.
Catherine spat out these words before hanging up abruptly. Tomorrow, we are meeting with Catherine, her parents, and Jack to discuss the divorce. I'll be there too. The divorce between Jack and Catherine was settled, with Catherine bearing all the cancellation fees for the venue. Though we hadn't planned on claiming any compensation, Catherine's parents insisted, so a lawyer drafted the documents, and we received a small amount. Catherine also had to cover the legal fees. It was a relief. At the meeting, we presented printouts of the messages Catherine had sent.
Catherine, what is this? How dare you prepare something like this? It's despicable. The lowest.
Catherine told her parents that she was constantly harassed by Sally, and Jack did nothing to help, even siding with Sally. She had lied to her parents, who were furious upon learning the truth.
These messages are fabricated. Just to trap me.
Catherine, you've sent similar messages to your friends, right? Telling them not to come to the wedding because Jack's sister is unattractive. We've got messages from your friends. Jack showed the printouts of the message exchanges between Catherine and her friend. Before Catherine could retaliate, he also played a recording of a conversation between Catherine and Jack at my house. Upon receiving all the evidence we presented, Catherine's parents immediately offered a deep apology.
We're truly sorry. We agree to the divorce and will make Catherine pay for the cancellation fees.
We had great respect for Sally and Jack's journey. We were proud our daughter married such a wonderful man, but never imagined she would do something so foolish.
Why won't my parents support me?
Nobody would side with you after seeing this.
Catherine, do you understand what you've done? Apologize now.
I'm sorry. Contrary to her expectations, Catherine protested in tears to her parents' reaction, but her father dismissed her objections, and her mother urged her to apologize. Catherine did apologize, but it was in a manner reminiscent of a child begrudgingly saying sorry after being scolded, leaving everyone present feeling considerable discomfort towards her. The next day, the divorce between Jack and Catherine was finalized. Jack had a lawyer acquaintance prepare the necessary documents. Of course, the cancellation was communicated to the venue, and Catherine's parents covered the cancellation fees. It seems Catherine will have to work and pay them back. Having unilaterally decided to become a stay-at-home wife, she will now have to start job hunting. It appears her previous job was obtained through her parents' connections, so finding a new position on her own merits might prove difficult. Jack and Catherine met through college friends, and Catherine had been spreading baseless rumors, attempting to undermine Jack's reputation. She had been telling various people to request my absence from the wedding, resulting in backlash from those aware of the truth. I'm Mary, in my 30s, the only daughter of an old family. My husband, Joe, is also in his 30s, the middle child with an older sister and a younger sister. My sister-in-law, Betty, a stay-at-home mom of 3, whose husband Mike serves in the Navy and is often away for long periods. My other sister-in-law, Emma, is a college student. She lives in a part of my mother-in-law Kate's house, with the agreement that she'll move out after graduation. 3 years ago, when Joe and I got married, we built a duplex on land I inherited from my grandfather. Kate lives on the first floor, and Joe and I live on the second. Joe, being the eldest son, even if he's the second child, indeed has some responsibility towards Kate's care in her old age. I was a bit bothered by the idea of it being an obligation, but wanting to marry Joe no matter what, we discussed with Mike and agreed to design the house so both families could live separately. The house is in Joe's and my name, and Kate agreed to bear all her living costs. Only $20,000 was paid initially, and nothing after that. Joe and I have been paying off the mortgage. It was nowhere near enough, and we thought it was supposed to be in installments, but it was just a one-time payment. With just that $20,000, Kate acted as if she owned the entire first floor. Already then, promises were not kept, but what happened next was even more unacceptable. It all started when Betty was hospitalized. When Betty fell seriously ill and had to be hospitalized long-term, Kate told me, "I'll take care of Betty's 3 kids here. You look after them until she gets discharged." Betty's children were quite young, with the eldest in 2nd grade, the second child 5 years old, and the youngest 1.5 years old.
Wait, please. I have a job too.
I resisted. They're at school or the child care center during the day, so it's fine. Moms work and raise kids all the time. Stop making excuses and just take care of them, Kate scoffed. So, Joe and I talked it over and decided to keep the kids mainly in Kate's part of the house while Betty was hospitalized. But since Kate would be at the hospital with Betty, busy and unable to look after the kids, we'd handle it from after school until bedtime, including picking them up from the childcare center. This change affected our usual work routines, and at first, it was quite chaotic for Joe and me, along with the kids. The children were a bit unsettled with their mom in the hospital and their dad away for a long time, but Joe and I were moved by their efforts to cope. However, on the morning of Betty's discharge, Kate called me to the first floor to shock me with a declaration to continue babysitting. I was astonished.
But it was supposed to be just until she was discharged.
I argued, but Kate calmly replied,
She's just been discharged and still not well. She can't possibly take care of the kids.
Hearing this, I couldn't be harsh to Betty, who was still recovering, and ended up agreeing to extend their stay. As time went on, and 6 months later, when Mike was about to return, once again, Kate called me down to the first floor, saying,
With Mike coming back, it's too cramped here just on the first floor. We need to move the kids or Emma upstairs.
Making an unreasonable request.
Why not go back to your own home now that Mike is returning? I asked directly. Suddenly, Betty began coughing, looking unwell.
It's impossible.
I'm still not feeling well.
I can't possibly do any housework.
Mary, I never thought you were so cold-hearted. Don't you want to help your family when they're suffering and sick? I'm not even asking for much,
she yelled. And that's when I decided it was time to draw a clear line. I tried to choose my words carefully, but Kate exploded, yelling,
Get out of this house right now.
So, I decided to consult my parents.
You must not give in. They might just take over,
my mother worriedly said. And after hanging up, reassured that my stance wasn't narrow-minded, I felt a bit relieved. And apologized to me. Tom, who hadn't been part of this conversation, seemed to side with Kate, and instead of ignoring me, he persistently said,
What a cold woman. As long as you're fine, right?
I wish you'd just leave already. My father decided to get a lawyer he knew to prepare properly before any discussions, and while the documents were being prepared, another issue arose. In the middle of the night, Emma came upstairs with her pillow.
The kids crying at night is too loud. I can't sleep downstairs. Can you move my bed upstairs tomorrow? I'll make do with the guest bed tonight, she said, yawning.
A surprised Joe said,
What are you talking about? There's no room for Emma here. Go back to your own room quietly. Besides, Betty is recovering, so Emma should help with the kids.
To which Emma frowned and replied,
What are you talking about? Sisters don't babysit these days. I'm a student. I'm busy with my studies. It's impossible. Nowadays, helping with childcare is the daughter-in-law's job,
she claimed.
That's not true. If that's the case, Emma will be told the same when she gets married,
Joe retorted, slightly irritated, to which Emma further replied,
I won't get married, so it's fine. Dad says it's better if I stay at home anyway. It's being filial, she coolly answered. Weren't you supposed to move out after graduating from college? We're not in a bubble economy. How much do you think I can earn with my starting salary? Living alone is utterly impossible. I'll look for a job close to this house, and unless my favorite celebrity marries me, there's no way I'm considering marriage in real life.
Emma argued her point. When I interjected that this was not the agreement.
Mary, you're being rather high and mighty. Didn't Dad contribute money to build this place too? Even if the deed is in Joe and your names, it belongs to Dad too. This is my family home. Why should I be driven out of my own home?
Emma countered. Joe explained that the in-laws had only contributed $20,000, and that half the building and all the land were in my name, but Emma retorted, So what? Are you saying to contribute more money? Just because it's only $20,000 doesn't change the fact that they contributed. Don't you know about residency rights? I'm definitely not leaving. And stormed down to the first floor with a bang. Sounds of shouting could be heard from below, likely Emma venting to Kate. Having Joe always agree with my views was a saving grace. A few days of standoff continued, but then my parents informed us that everything was ready for a discussion.
Joe is a good person, but his family is too unreasonable. While public opinion might concern you, divorcing as a way to separate might be an option. You could buy out Joe's half of the house and settle things amicably. I'll pay for it,
my dad suggested, leaving me surprised as I hadn't considered divorce. However, my mom agreed, saying,
marriage isn't just about the two people involved. Discuss it thoroughly and decide.
After aligning our intentions, it was decided that Kate, Betty, my parents, Joe, and I, a total of 7 people, would discuss the matter. Emma was tasked with babysitting Betty's children in Kate's part of the house and didn't join the discussion. Conveniently, it turned out that Betty's husband, Mike, would be returning home that day and would join the discussion. After everyone except Mike had gathered, Tom was the first to speak. I apologize for dragging Mary's parents into this mess. With Betty being ill, we've been emotionally fragile and ended up causing trouble. I'm sorry for Kate's rudeness and my daughter's disrespectful behavior towards Mary. Tom apologized, which took me by surprise. But just when I began to see Tom in a new light, he ultimately pushed his own agenda. However, despite our poor choice of words, considering Betty's future support, living together in this house seems best. We understand the rights to the house and land, but as Mary is a family member, we hope for her flexibility. Tom was interrupted by my dad. This land has been passed down to Mary through generations. Even though we built a duplex here, Mary holds the rights, not you. We can't allow you to decide on a semi-permanent cohabitation without Mary's consent. We understand Betty's situation, but that's for you as a couple to resolve, my dad said, to which Kate retorted, cold-hearted family. A heartless daughter raised by heartless parents. Of course, this backfired.
If that's how you feel, we won't hesitate to ask you to leave Mary's house immediately,
my dad replied. Mike, arriving late, thanked us for taking care of his wife, especially praising Kate for her support during Betty's hospitalization. Putting Kate, it's okay. Betty is my daughter. Families should help each other, unlike these people. They just told me to leave the house. But we've paid some money too, so they can't just kick us out. We have residency rights, Kate started.
Claiming residency rights over $20,000? I'm speechless. What now?
As my dad and Kate were about to argue, Joe suddenly apologized deeply.
Ben, Jane, I'm so sorry for the trouble my family has caused, insisting on our rights after only paying $20,000 and living here with so many of us. And even making brazen requests despite Betty's illness. It's too much to ask to continue living here,
Joe told my parents. I decided to address the financial issues I had avoided until now, to assert agreement with Joe. I was prepared for living with Kate and caring for her in her old age when I decided to marry. However, I regret that only $20,000 was contributed towards the living space on the first floor. The situation with Betty's family living here semi-permanently and Emma's post-graduation independence, among other unilateral decisions, is too much. Isn't it absurd to ask for the second floor because the first is too cramped? I said, and Mike, finally catching on, spoke up. I'm sorry for any inconvenience. Being away often, I couldn't look after my wife and kids, leading to this situation. I wasn't aware of the land ownership or the small contribution made, or the brazen requests made even though it was for Betty's sake. My parents left some land in the countryside, which I plan to sell to buy a house nearby. Kate can live there with Betty and the kids, and I'll provide for them. I appreciate your past kindness and will look for a suitable property immediately," Mike said. He had always wanted to live with Kate and was considering how to finance it since his parents had passed away. But Kate insisted on staying here, demanding,
"You're breaking promises. As the eldest son, it's only natural for you to care."
At that, my dad exploded.
"Enough! We'll consult a lawyer. We'll return the $20,000 and cover the moving costs. We'll draft a formal document specifying a deadline for moving out. We didn't want to have to force you out like this, but it seems we have no choice. Using a lawyer is too much. We're family. Shouldn't we settle this amicably?" Kate persisted.
"We can't trust you."
"Not trusting us is quite rude. You were the ones who wanted to get married and said living together as a multi-generational family was fine. I would have been okay with calling off the engagement." So greedy, both mother and daughter-in-law of the eldest son.
Kate continued to rant, but Joe had enough.
"Stop making a scene. I've told you, it's come to needing a lawyer because you're being unreasonable. Please, no more trouble. What are we, as adults, doing?"
Eventually, Kate moved out to live in the property Mike purchased. Originally, the plan was for Kate to live on the first floor of the duplex and be taken care of in her old age, but their brazenness led to them being kicked out. Feeling somewhat guilty about it, I mentioned to Joe that maybe we could invite Kate back once Betty's health improved and she no longer needed to live with us. Joe replied,
"Mary, you're too kind. Haven't you learned your lesson? They'll just take advantage again, and I'm totally against bringing her back."
Joe went as far as to sever ties with Kate and Betty, even proceeding with disinheritance. I was shocked by Joe's thoroughness, realizing he must have been truly desperate about his family. It pains me a bit that Joe had to choose estrangement, but given their unreasonable behavior, it might have been inevitable in any scenario. Emma was forced to live alone as no room was prepared for her in Betty's new home. When Emma tried to insist on staying, claiming this was her family home and she had residency rights, I told her, "This isn't your family home anymore," leading her to storm out in anger. Later, Tom rented an old apartment for Emma, but she refused to move in, saying,
"I can't live in such an old apartment. That's impossible."
Upset by her ingratitude, Tom stopped paying her tuition. Joe says we should not involve ourselves anymore since he's cut ties, so I don't know what's happened to her since, but I imagine Emma is living her life as willfully as ever.
"That woman, she's always been a liar. Ha ha ha. Cancer, how exaggerated. She just wanted to skip work."
These were the words spoken by my sister Miranda's husband, Martin, and her mother-in-law, Susan. Miranda is not someone who would lie. I can attest to that, having spent 25 years with her. I utterly despised the two who could say such things to Miranda, who is suffering from cancer and urgently needs treatment. It was unforgivable. I felt a strong need to save Miranda. I am Savannah, 25 years old, working in sales since graduating from college. I managed to join my first choice company, so my mind is always occupied with work.
"Savannah, did you do overtime again today? Don't overwork yourself and get sick."
That's what my dad, who has been a company employee for many years, often says out of concern. Dad is kind, has a big heart, and generally doesn't sweat the small stuff. He rarely gets angry, but when he does, it's truly frightening. I remember pushing a friend during a fight in elementary school. The friend fell and got hurt. And it wasn't serious, but my parents were called to the school. I still remember how scary Dad was when he apologized to my friend's parents and later scolded me in the car. He didn't yell, but his angry face was unimaginable from his usually gentle demeanor. I had thought it was my friend's fault for the fight, but Dad must have realized my reluctant apology. After being scolded by Dad, I understood the severity of my actions and regretted them. Mom passed away from an illness before I entered elementary school. I don't have many memories of her. But Dad raised me with plenty of love while working. So I never felt lonely, even on his rest days. My sister Miranda, who is 5 years older, has always been the one I can talk to about anything. Despite the age difference, she has been like a friend and sometimes like a mom to me.
Savannah, you've got someone you like, right? How did you know? I'm thinking about confessing.
I could tell Miranda things I couldn't say to Dad. Miranda and I have never fought. I adore her. When she got engaged, it was to a tall, slender man with a refreshing smile who looked great in a suit. He had visited our house a few times, and I had met him on those occasions, but
I'm Martin, and I'm dating Miranda. Thank you for having me.
He had visited our house a few times, and I had met him on those occasions, but he greeted me with a refreshing smile each time. She seemed so happy since she started dating Martin.
I've been proposed to. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you.
I cried when she told me about the proposal. I was a bit sad we wouldn't live together anymore, but overjoyed for her happiness. Dad felt the same. He cried when Miranda told him about her marriage.
I'm sorry for the hardships I caused you since you were little. I'm happy you found happiness. Congratulations.
Miranda and I were surprised to see Dad's tears, as we had never seen him cry before. When Mom passed away, Miranda was in elementary school. She used to go straight to the kitchen after school and learn to cook from Grandma, who occasionally visited. By middle school, she was making dinner as if it were the most natural thing. She never complained, even though I knew she missed out on playing with friends. Dad might have felt guilty about it. Later, Martin came to a family meeting. He brought sought-after sweets for me and a rare brandy for Dad. I thought he was perfect.
I promised to make Miranda happy and never make her cry. Thank you.
Martin greeted us politely. Dad also looked relieved. I felt confident that Miranda would be in good hands with him. I learned then that Martin was the heir to a prestigious hotel. After the greetings, they happily got married. Just before Miranda left home, I found out she was going to live with her in-laws.
Are you sure that's okay? Won't there be harassment like in dramas? As newlyweds, wouldn't it be better if you lived alone? Savannah, you worry too much. Their house is big enough for them to have their own space. Did Susan seem like the type to harass her daughter-in-law?
Indeed, I had met Martin's parents at the wedding, and both were very cheerful and friendly. They were greeting everyone at the venue. Please take good care of Martin. And even poured me a drink. I felt reassured thinking that if Miranda said it was okay, then it must be. Miranda was able to continue her job, though the commute became a bit more challenging. I felt a bit embarrassed for worrying too much. On the day we sent Miranda off, I felt happy but also lonely, and I found myself crying in bed. Half a year passed. I hadn't seen Miranda, but we exchanged messages occasionally. Her replies were slow, but she seemed to be doing well. I had a lot I wanted to talk to her about, but I refrained from disturbing her happiness. As for me, I was still immersed in my work. Living with Dad made me realize how much I appreciated Miranda. I thought I had been helping with household chores, but I found myself forgetting laundry in the washer or burning the food, realizing I wasn't as capable as I thought. Dad just laughed and didn't get angry. Then one day, when Dad was away on a business trip, I worked late and was eating delivery food at home. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Wondering who it could be at this late hour, I cautiously went to the door, only to find Miranda standing there.
Miranda!
The Miranda I saw after a long time had lost a surprising amount of weight in just half a year. It was more accurate to say she looked emaciated rather than just thin. And her complexion was pale. As I rushed to her, she collapsed into my arms. I instinctively hugged her. I took the exhausted Miranda to my room and put her to bed. There were many questions I wanted to ask, but I thought it best to let her rest first. "Savannah, I'm sorry." Miranda kept apologizing.
It's okay, just rest for now. We'll talk after.
I rushed to the convenience store, bought her some drinks and fever-reducing sheets, and handed them to Miranda. What happened? When I asked Miranda, "I have cancer, but they won't let me go to the hospital," she replied in a hoarse voice, tears streaming down her face. It turned out, Miranda's happiness lasted only until they started living together. "Everyone changed the moment I became a daughter-in-law," Miranda said. She said that on the day of her marriage, she was asked to quit her job to help with the family business. She accepted this demand. After quitting her job, Miranda would wake up at 4 a.m. to thoroughly clean the entire house and prepare breakfast for the family and 10 relatives. Then, she would help at the hotel until the evening, followed by making dinner for everyone, doing the laundry, and completing the remaining household chores, not going to bed until late at night. She was only getting about 3 hours of sleep each night, which made my overtime seem trivial in comparison. Moreover, she had no days off. Every day, she faced bullying by Susan, who meticulously checked every household and work task. Martin, too, had changed drastically from his kind demeanor before marriage, becoming authoritarian. He didn't help Miranda against Susan's bullying, often siding with Susan and being harsh. Additionally, Miranda had a health checkup before quitting her job, where cancer was detected. Fortunately, it was found early, and she was told that immediate surgery could cure it. However, her family didn't believe her. She pleaded to be hospitalized for the surgery but was forced to work from dawn till late night instead. I was overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information. Just hearing it all made me tear up.
What? I don't understand. Why didn't you tell me?
When I asked Miranda, a shocking answer came back. Miranda revealed that Susan and Martin checked her mobile phone daily and monitored all her replies. She was told it was to ensure she wasn't slacking off in her household and work duties. That's why she couldn't ask for help. During our conversation, Miranda's bag kept vibrating with notifications.
Is that Martin?
Miranda nodded slightly.
I'll handle it. Miranda, you rest for today. We'll go to the hospital tomorrow.
I took Miranda's mobile phone to the living room. There were over 100 missed calls. When it rang again, I decided to answer.
Hey! Where did you run off to? Abandoning your duties, what a failure as a daughter-in-law.
Martin? This is Savannah. Hearing my voice, Martin's tone changed. Oh, Savannah. Long time no see. Can you pass the phone to Miranda?
Why would I do that? Where's that intensity gone? Miranda can't come to the phone right now. Martin, you know Miranda has cancer, right?
I wanted to yell at him, but I confronted him calmly instead. Ahahaha. Funny girl. You believe Miranda's lies. She doesn't have cancer. She just wanted to avoid housework.
What? On what basis are you saying she doesn't have cancer? Miranda arrived at my house completely exhausted and emaciated. I'm taking her to the hospital tomorrow. She won't be going back there.
She's there, right? I'll come to pick her up.
Don't come. If you do, I'll call the police.
I hung up the phone. It kept ringing, and I was scared they might come over. But fortunately, they didn't show up, and the calls were just continuous. I turned off Miranda's phone. I felt frustrated. I wondered why I hadn't noticed anything before the marriage. It pained me to see my beloved Miranda suffering. I couldn't sleep that night. The next day, I took Miranda to the hospital early in the morning. Her physical condition had deteriorated significantly, and the doctors advised immediate surgery, so she was admitted to the hospital. At the hospital, I requested that Miranda not be allowed to meet anyone who might visit, just to be safe. Then, I went home to bring the necessary things for her hospital stay. When I arrived, Dad had already returned.
Dad. Something terrible has happened.
I had been too upset to tell Dad anything yet.
What? What's wrong?
Dad looked startled by my urgency. As I explained about Miranda, his face gradually turned darker, and by the end, he was red with anger.
What? I can't believe this. First, we need to go to the hospital. Let's go.
It had been years since I'd seen Dad so angry. We both headed to the hospital where Miranda was waiting.
Miranda, are you okay?
Dad. I'm sorry. Don't talk anymore. Just tell me what you want to do from now on. I'll take care of it. I want a divorce. Understood. I silently listened to the exchange between Miranda and Dad. As Dad was about to leave the room, I started to follow Wen. I determined to help her.
Savannah. Wait. Take this.
Miranda handed me an envelope.
What's this?
Before I could check,
Savannah. Let's go.
Called Dad. I put the envelope in my bag and left the room. Dad and I then headed to Martin's house. Upon arriving, Susan came out. Finally, you've brought her back. Oh? She's not here? She spoke as if nothing was wrong. I couldn't stand it, and
Miranda has been hospitalized because of you.
I told them firmly.
Oh my.
That sounds terrible.
But it must be a sham, right? That girl is a habitual liar.
Susan replied without a hint of remorse.
What? A sham? Well, let's discuss this inside.
Dad said, and we entered the house. It seemed Susan was the only one there. Miranda's SIL must be at work. I remembered Miranda saying he was a workaholic and indifferent to anything but work. He had turned a blind eye to the mistreatment Miranda suffered. Then Martin came from the back.
Oh, long time no see.
He greeted us with the same refreshing smile as when we first met. Now I understood that these two were only good on the surface.
Miranda has cancer. It's not a sham or anything of the sort.
Ahahaha. Harold, you're exaggerating. It can't be cancer. I was astounded by Martin's laughing response.
Then look at this.
Dad showed them the medical report from the hospital. Susan and Martin looked shocked but quickly.
Oh my! It was true. We never believed her because she's always lying. Regular behavior is important, isn't it?
Susan said.
Miranda doesn't lie. What do you think she is?
I couldn't help but interject. A daughter-in-law. Nothing more, nothing less. You wouldn't understand, being single. A daughter-in-law is supposed to live for the family. Susan started spouting nonsense.
What? Live for the family by not letting her go to the hospital despite her illness, making her work from dawn to midnight? She said everyone changed after coming to this house.
Ah, she's lying about that too. She's good at lying, isn't she? Maybe it's because she's from a single-parent family? Being a daughter-in-law isn't being a guest. It's normal to be strict. No matter what I said, Susan kept laughing and responding. I felt like crying, but I clenched my teeth and held back, knowing I couldn't let myself cry. Then Dad spoke up.
The illness wasn't a lie, was it? Do you have any proof of her other supposed lies? Well, it doesn't matter anymore. It's clear from this conversation that you're unreasonable. We cannot leave Miranda in this house. We will proceed with the divorce through a lawyer, as Miranda wishes,
he said. He seemed calm, but I could tell he was trembling with anger.
Harold, please wait. Let me see Miranda. I'm sorry for not believing her illness, but as Mom said, Miranda often lies. And the claim that Mom was harsh and made her work from dawn to midnight is false. I think we can sort it out if we talk. Please let me see Miranda.
Martin pleaded with Dad, apologizing deeply. I was appalled that he still called Miranda a liar. And then
listen to this.
I played a voice recording. It documented Miranda's day from early morning to late night. 4:30 a.m., starting to clean. Miranda's voice was recorded.
This cleaning is inadequate. Look at this dust. A dusty woman like you wouldn't notice, right? Want to be thrown out?
Susan's voice was on the recording. In another part, I have cancer. Please let me go to the hospital. Miranda pleaded, to which Martin responded,
Shut up. If you have time to say that, work. Maybe working hard will cure it.
It was unbelievable. Susan and Martin were speechless, seemingly unaware they had been recorded.
Now, who is the liar? We'll be leaving. If you try to approach Miranda again, I will not forgive you,
Dad said, and we left the house, heading back to the hospital. When we told Miranda about the discussion, "Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for Dad and Savannah," she cried. "It was because of your recording, Miranda," I told her. When we left the room, the envelope Miranda handed me contained the voice recorder. On the day Miranda fled to our home, she had hidden the recorder in her clothing. Miranda must have known that her in-laws would pretend not to know anything. She realized she needed evidence. Her previous job at a publishing house had given her access to a voice recorder. Knowing Susan and Martin, it was risky. There was no telling what they would do if they found out. It must have required a great deal of courage. It must have taken a lot of courage for Miranda to record everything in secret. Later, Dad found a strong divorce lawyer, and the divorce was successfully finalized. I followed Miranda's example and recorded our conversation with Susan and Martin on my mobile phone. The fact that Miranda had cancer and they denied her medical care, coupled with the two recordings, enabled us to secure a substantial settlement in the divorce trial. The lawyer told us that the hotel run by Martin's family was in dire financial straits. They couldn't afford the settlement and asked to pay in installments. But the lawyer rejected the request without even consulting us. With the lump sum payment, it seemed only a matter of time before the hotel would close. Curious, I checked the hotel's reviews and found them to be quite low. It made sense to me. People like that couldn't possibly offer warm hospitality. A friend living near the hotel told me that neighbors had overheard our conversation with Susan on the day Dad and I visited. In a small town, rumors spread quickly, and it seems they were now viewed coldly by the community. Miranda's surgery was a success, and she was discharged from the hospital after about a month and a half, looking a bit healthier than the day she had fled to our house. She decided to spend some time recovering at home, continuing outpatient treatments. I was happy that the three of us were living together again.
I'm thinking of making Dad's favorite steak today. Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
I can leave work early today, so I'll buy the ingredients on my way home. Miranda's cooking was incomparably delicious compared to mine. I couldn't be happier with our days filled with laughter as a family of three.